an FBI, a CIA agent, pretending to be one of the Social Security workers. And she said, ask me, when I asked that question, and she said, are you getting loud with me, Mr. Murray? You getting smart? And I said, no, I'm asking you a question. That's when, okay, sir. And they grabbed me, I'm looking at these big revolvers on their hips. And they took me out and they threw me out in front of the Social Security office up here on Grand Boulevard in Highland Park. And that's when I realized, I said, I know what to do. I'm gonna take them on in court. I'm gonna go and talk to ACLU. They shut the door in my face. I never got a response from WDIV, Fox 2, none of them. Never got any help from Sugar Law Center. So I filed a civil rights complaint for the people of this country, man. And I said, well, I'll take them. I'll take them. I can beat them. And every time they would throw obstacles up in front of me, and I was pawning all my little jewelry, I was pawning my little paintings and things of that nature to try to fight this case alone. And all my documents, by the way, are marked not for public viewing, because you're not supposed to see any of that evidence and stuff that I had submitted. All of mine. I started to bring a bag full of my documents. But anyway, I go up against them, and this is what they did to me. I was in Memphis, Tennessee at the time. This was a couple years ago. They said, okay, Mr. Murray, you're right. We were wrong. You're not a fleeing felon. Clark versus Astru. But, now, this is the new thing that they're running on. Over 1.5 million Social Security recipients right now are going through this right now. This is the new thing. You're not a fleeing felon, but you were working and you did not report income. That's what you were doing. And I'm going like, wow. Listen, I'm almost a quadriplegic. I lose my voice. I can't even speak. I can't breathe. I'm wearing an incontinence brief now. And you're going to tell you that I'm working and not reporting? I haven't been working. And that's the excuse that they're using now to get from under Clark v. Astru. And so I am still paying over $40,000 to Social Security. All of us are still paying now. This is over 1.5 million people. You can look it up. And that's after we won the case. Now, that was Obama, So, I'm working on this case, the Social Security case. I'm in Detroit. I'm finding out that nobody's going to do anything to help you. Something is going on in Detroit. Now, I'm noticing this. Why is it that nobody's concerned about Henry Ford, Wayne State, and the DMC, because you got it. An Obamacare mayor. But you got all of them buying up prize property in Midtown, and they're throwing people out. I lived at the Milwaukee Inn on Milwaukee because I got all these medical issues. I had to be close to a hospital, and back then you could actually get medical treatment, and your medicine didn't come from China. And being a writer and a poet, old school, we didn't have cell phones, so we carried all of this stuff with us. This was my studio. I had priceless documents. I go all the way back to Ram Dass, Be Here Now. I was one of his students. And I was with the Hanuman Project, which was run by Ram Dass and some of his close aides, Bo and Sita Lozov. Bo is dead now. They took care of me. because I had asked for them. I had told him, listen, I've got a lot of spiritual things going on in my life I can't understand, and he hooked me up with them. Plus, I was with Theosophical Society. So I've got letters, handwritten letters from Christian Murry himself, talking to me about things, uh, giving me advice. And I've got all my paintings over the years, and I've got all my poems. I've got because I quit publishing because I wanted to be like T.S. Eliot. I just wanted to write a couple of masterpieces, and trust me, I was a very strong literary influence in the early 80s because of my literary style. And so I said, I don't want to be known as a prison poet. I want to be known as a masterful artist. I want to be among some of the greats. So I quit publishing all that weak poetry. And I just stacked my stuff up for years. And so my apartment at the Milwaukee Inn was loaded with everything that I owned over the years. I was going to retire off that stuff. Collectible books given to me. And we all paid our rent at the Milwaukee Inn. And after we had spent all our money, there was a note put on everybody's door saying, you have 72 hours to get out. And everybody's going how can we get out? Now this was in the winter, this is about February, and we said, how can we get out? We just paid all our money. And this man is saying 72 hours. So we go to the hotel clerk, because we were friends with her. And we asked her, why is the owner putting us out? And he said, the owner sold the building to Henry Ford. And Henry Ford told them to kick everybody out. And the reason why they're going to board the place up in 72 hours is because Henry Ford is afraid that the tenants are going to be upset that they're going to destroy the building. And everybody, now this is about 120 of us living in Milwaukee. And so everybody's standing out in the parking lot, in the cold, in the snow, and everybody's talking about, well, I'm going to call the news. I'm going to tell the news what they just did to us. And this, by the way, was going on all over the city of Detroit. It wasn't just, this was going on by Wayne State, Henry Ford, and DMC. I'll take them on any day, any time, because they know I got the lowdown on them. And so I didn't talk about calling the newspaper and everything. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to walk down here because everything I've owned for almost 40 years was in that place, because that's the way we poets and writers did things. We carried all that stuff on our shoulders, in bags and things. And so I go down to Wayne State Law Clinic on Woodward. Wayne State University Law Clinic. I used to go in there and talk to them just to see how these young guys are doing with law. And I said, listen, there's a problem going on. They're evicting people, giving them 72 hours, and nobody's helping them. And they're all standing out in the snow. And they escorted me out. Said, we can't help you. Why don't you talk to ACLU? I said, well, I can't go to ACLU because ACLU has been bought out. I know. I've dealt with. I worked as a volunteer with legal aid in Highland Park. Little small building. But I'd go in and give them a hand and everything, So when I went to ACLU and told them about it, they wasn't interested either. So I said, okay, nobody wants to take on Henry Ford, DMC, and Wayne State University. But they're buying up just like they bought up that over there. Because Detroit has an Obamacare mayor, and Detroit has an Obamacare governor. And everything Mayor Duggan is going to do is going to have that DMC Obamacare slant to it. And the same for Governor Whitmer. because that's the reason why he's having marital problems. The mayor, because he goes too far, and so the problems that's going on now, and the reasons why I got involved is that when I do go on the internet and I go to social media and I see someone who is doing something that he doesn't quite understand the magnitude of his actions and the consequences that will arise from it. And that was you, man. And everything that I do anonymously. Nobody knows that I tried to stop Flint from being poisoned. Nobody except the city of Detroit. And Obama's Secretary of Transportation. So when you drive around, you are making a record of things that are to be destroyed, because there has been a vision developed for Detroit, and it doesn't include the past. You got a couple props that they'll use for Motown, because that's a moneymaker. But the Brewster Project, they tore it down, and that's where all of them were. That's what that was the most iconic place in Detroit history when it comes to music, because most of the artists grew up there. Some of your best boxers grew up there. I know, Al Blue Lewis, all these guys, because, that's my thing. I was a boxer. I taught boxing. I worked with Crump, And the Brewster Project was like this vast, multi-talented center where these young kids were struggling against all of the odds, and they were becoming quite talented. They were learning how to speak. That's because, you see, we talk about Motown because of that music, but it was Berry Gordy's ability to educate and to refine the rough edges of that juvenile delinquency that was so apparent in Detroit back then. And he was able to make from that little rough piece of coal a diamond. These women had to learn, and men, they had to learn how to speak, how to conduct themselves. It wasn't just that they were learning music, but this is what made them so invaluable in developing the Detroit Motown sound. But see, all of that is Brewster Project is gone. You should have kept that. You should have made that into a museum. But they didn't. And now they have what? They have an official graffiti artist. But of course, I told you all of that before. I said, listen, they're going to be taking all graffiti down because they don't want people to see that part of Detroit history. But they have an official graffiti artist now who goes around painting over all the, the little taggings and things of that nature. Because Detroit, it's going to be an illustrious city, but it won't include us. They're bringing in people that they want, people that they feel are valuable to this grand vision that they have of being a smart city. And of course, of being a multicultural, globalist city. And they have no use for the people that are here, because the people that are here made one mistake. They believe too much in the auto industry. And the auto industry has changed. And we have so many now. You can go to some of the supermarkets and you got your EBT card or you got your debit, credit card, and you're standing in line. It doesn't matter who it is, man, woman, and you're standing in line. And you will notice how difficult it is for these people to use that machine right there in front of them. It takes them minutes, just, they're constantly trying to figure out what to punch, and you stand there and you say, okay, this is why Mayor Duggan and others are pushing all of these people here out to the fringes and bringing in skilled, talented people. Because we failed when it came to educating our young. And the problem with the auto industry is that the auto industry, see what you see now, the auto industry was a part of the community was built around the auto industry. So if you got sick, I worked for Dodge Main when I was 16 years old. But when you got sick, there were people in your union and in your factory who would help you. If you had a drug problem, you could go to them. They wouldn't fire you. They were always involved in trying to help you. If they saw a neighborhood needed a little park or needed a little crosswalk or something, they would come and do that because they were a part of that community in which they operated. But you take away all of these factories, and now you've got people who must rely on themselves, and it is so difficult when now you have people who still can't comprehend basic reading,